Hey, people. Wow, Kratz, you're bringing it today. Are you at the beach?
I want to meet the person who sings that song. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm at the beach. Can't you tell? I got sand, I got water, I got the sky, everything.
That's a
This is where
beautiful
AJ lives
backdrop.
all the time.
It is a beautiful backdrop. Well, with AJ, you're missing an alligator, right?
All right,
For
we don't
sure.
have alligators. Yeah.
No alligators at the Jersey Shore. Okay, did you see the Jason Tatum contract, the Boston
Pretty decent.
Celtics superstar, and how much money
Pretty
he's going to
decent.
make? Thoughts?
More than the A's.
More than the A's. That's right. Wait. $63 million is his average salary per year. And the Oakland A's 2024 payroll, according to Action Network, is $62.8 million. Mm. You
Is it
know,
because they're
yeah,
better? Is it because he's better than all of them combined? Is his WAR higher?
I think if you have Jason Tatum on the basketball court against five players from the Oakland A's, who wins?
5 players from the Oakland A's.
I know. AJ, what does it say about the league and the pay scale? Sometimes MLB will try and brag about how they pay guys more than anyone else. I remember the topic came up a lot when Giancarlo Stanton signed his big deal, and people were like, see, this guy could be a football player, but you don't get that much money in football. I think we've talked about Kyler Murray. I think there's a lot of pros and cons to each league, but your thoughts on this one?
Well, good for Jayson Tatum, first of all. Interesting, though, the Celtics are being sold after they just won the championship, and they have with the largest luxury tax bill of all time. So uh, the thing is that the NBA only has 12 guys they really have to pay. So, and they also have a minimum salary of who they have to pay. So you'll see the 12th guy on a NBA roster getting like $5 million, $10 million because they have to hit a minimum. And if the team's not any good, they're like, oh, we'll sign this guy to be our 12th guy for a year for 10 million. And he might get 5 minutes a game. And that's a nice job if you can get it. MLB doesn't have that floor. So that's why you have discrepancies like this. And the only way they're going to get a floor is if they get a cap, and the Player Association will never get a cap. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But good for Jayson Tatum. And yeah, if you're in Oakland A, you're not getting paid a whole lot.
That's true. I didn't think about that, Kratz. If you are in the NBA, how many players play in one season versus how many play in an MLB season? Because aren't we close to 40-ish per team? Maybe a little less
More.
than that. Is it more
Nope.
than that?
It's usually more for the winning teams, and that's the other discrepancy. The Celtics want to win, so they're paying their guys. Athletics, they could care less about winning. The players want to win, but the organization doesn't want to win. But no, I think the Rangers used 52 players last year, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, there's a couple 2 or 3 day call ups, but it's more than the 40-man roster.
So there's your difference with the NBA. I mean, that is 5 times the amount of NBA players on a roster-ish that will play in a particular year. So for leagues that are close in revenue, at least public reported revenue. Okay, let's charge them out. Can anyone stop the Houston Astros right now? They win again. They got this one done quickly yesterday. Kratz, your former team, 3-1 over Toronto, 2 hours, 16 minutes. Hunter Brown is on another level right now. He has cut his ERA in half in the past month and change. By the way, Luis Garcia, remember him with the funky delivery? He's coming back. He's on a rehab assignment right now. Houston is 3 games back of Seattle in the West. I wasn't even thinking about that for them, at least not on the short term. I was like, can this team get back into wild card contention? I think so. I was steadfast about that. They might chase Seattle down in the division before we get to the freaking All-Star break.
It's unbelievable. And they did this in a game where Yariel with the Blue Jays was perfect, I think, through 5. Like it was a classic game of, well, I guess whoever scores first is going to win. And the Astros scored. Obviously, they tacked on the 2-run dinger by Jordan later. But this team, I have to eat my words. And you can't call it a comeback because they've been here the whole season. They've been here for the last 7 seasons. So these guys, they're putting it together. And what does every team need? They need a guy every 5 days that's going to shut down the opponent. And nobody other than the player of the month for the month of June, pitcher of the month for the month of June, has done that better than Hunter Brown. And he has been lights out. 1 earned run in his last 5 outings, I think.
Yeah, his ERA was 8.89 on May 5th, AJ. 6 shutout innings. It's now down to 4.07.
Oh, he's figured it out. They put him in the bullpen for a little while. He kind of figured it out. Now he threw back in the rotation. And he's been good. They changed a little bit of things. They said, stop trying to be Justin Verlander, be yourself. And he started throwing a sinker, I believe. And that's when he kind of took off. Verlander's more of a four-seamer and a slider guy. And now they're like, hey, throw this sinker thing that moves a lot. And he's been really good. And listen, they won on Canada Day in Toronto, which is never an easy task. The Mariners, like we've said, refused to put these guys away. They could have put them away, and the Mariners have fallen back to the pack. The Astros have gotten hot. As long as the Astros don't have to play the Yankees, apparently they're just fine. So let's see where this ends up. We got a long way to go. But, yeah, the Astros are back in it. No one ever wrote them off. We said it was time to start worrying. They had to get hot. And what they do? They got hot. And now here they are, above 500 and right in the playoff race.
Yeah, they just made it a little more difficult for themselves, but they're fine. They've won 10 of 11 games. They're 43-41 on the season. And
let me say this, Scott.
Yeah.
Was Jose Abreu that big of a anchor on him? Because, listen, I love Jose Abreu, but they got rid of him. And as soon as they got rid of him, they rocket shipped up. So I'm not saying it was all on Jose Abreu. That's just the way it looks from the outside looking in, is like, oh, man, like they got rid of him and then boom, all of a sudden they took off.
It's part of the puzzle. Kratz, first base production needs to be above average with the bat. Jose Abreu wasn't. Also, forget the offense for a moment. Jose Abreu looked terrible on defense. He just looked like he was in massive decline. And that, no, you disagree? His defense was down. He was making mistakes and his range was off. Then you couple that with, a bottom 3 hitter in the league. It wears down your offense because all of a sudden, big moment, 7th inning, they always find you in the lineup, right? Even if he was down at the 7 spot, runners on 2nd and 3rd, you're down a run, whiff, and you lose the game. That was happening. So I think it's a great point.
It's a great point, but it's not one person's fault. That's not what AJ is saying. It's the fact that if you have a lineup that he's not hitting 9th. Yes, I think he made it all the way down to 7th in the order, but he's not hitting 9th. You can mitigate somebody hitting 9th. Believe me, I've seen it. I've done it. You can mitigate that. But when he was expected to produce, when he was expected to give this team some thump, it wasn't there. Singleton has jumped in and really put together good at-bats. A guy that has always put together good at-bats, a lower batting average, but somebody that can drive the ball out of the ballpark and get on base. And it's not just one guy, because there's a lot of guys that stepped up. There's a lot of changes. Bregman's continuing his hot streak that he developed as he started to win some games. Obviously, Hunter Brown has anchored this staff when they've been decimated by injuries. And Altuve is an all-star candidate. And obviously, I think Jordan's going to be starter in the all-star game too. So they had this, and Tucker's coming back. Here they come again.
Yeah, that's a good point. They're doing this without Kyle Tucker too. And just for a minute on the other side, because we talked about them a ton, the Blue Jays fall. They only put up a run. I know it's Hunter Brown, and the Astros do have a strong big-name bullpen. In my mind, they had chances. They had, the 8th inning, bases loaded, came up empty, and you're looking at Vladdy in the dugout doing some type of dance or something. They're trying to get a rally going, some good luck, and you're like, damn, it hurts to not have Vladdy in that game because he's so on fire, right? He's coming off Player of the Week. He got hit on the hands. His 2 fingers were bruised up from that Garrett Cole pitch. It's just the wrong time to even have one game missing from Vladdy Jr. right now. The Blue Jays are heading down to the toilet, heading down to Cellar City as they fall to the Astros. Okay, we'll swing back. We're going to go over a little ump show from last night's Brewers-Rockies game with Pat Murphy making a very strong case that was denied. And then we'll talk to Joe Maddon. Yes, the Joe Maddon on FT.
Some of the more advanced teams have had versions of this for 5+ years, I would guess, at this point. And some of that's in a lab, right? They're hitting labs where you've got the attached, ping pong balls or whatever. And that's a little bit different than what you're seeing in a game setting, right? Your swing in a lab is different than your swing in the ninth inning against Emmanuel Clase or whatever. So this isn't necessarily new to the teams, and a lot of those teams have already made decisions based on this. I think it was 2 years ago now, maybe even three, where the Dodgers were in the postseason and Dave Roberts made a pinch hitting decision where people were confused about. He brought in, I think it was Austin Barnes, just not a terribly strong hitter. And they're like, "Why did you do that?" And he's like, "Well, his bat path, I thought, made him a better bet than Chris Taylor's uppercut to make contact with this pitch. It didn't even work. I think he still struck out." But your teams have already started making decisions on this. What's new now is that it's public facing. So all the smart baseball people who love to do all sorts of analysis can do that. It can be on broadcasts and television. And I would imagine that some players have gone and looked at this and found it interesting. I would hope that none of them saw this for the very first time, because that means their teams haven't been giving it to them. But maybe that's true too. But really, the takeaway here is if you look at the guys who square up the ball the most, well, yeah, Luis Rise, like it's exactly who you'd expect it to be. The guys who swing the hardest, right? Stanton, Schwarber, and then out there all by himself in unicorn land is Juan Soto, who is like the only one who can do both. I didn't think I could be more impressed by him than I am. He's the only guy who swings hard. He's top 10 and has a top 10 squared up rate, which is like impossible. He's Stephen Kwan if Stephen Kwan could swing 12 miles harder.
You're the commish for one day. What do you change?
I'm the commissioner for one day. I go to 32 teams, 16 teams in a league, and change it to more of a basketball structure where there's the East Coast and then the West Coast.
Why is that?
Just for travel, competitiveness, and then I think it changes the whole dynamic of baseball, and you already kind of have a East Coast versus West Coast, but I think it'll make the travel easier throughout the year, staying, I guess bi-coastal, and two, I just like the thought of, at the end of the season, having that West Coast versus East Coast World Series, less than National League versus American League. And I know that eliminates the chance of having like a, Dodgers Angels or a Mets Yankees, but, I think fan-wise, there's a big bias East Coast, West Coast, and I think that would be cool for the fans.
My bad, Joe. I put myself on mute. Joe Maddon back with us on Foul Territory.
Yeah.
Joe, how you doing?
Good. I just heard you. Very good. How you guys doing?
Great to have you on. Obviously, want to plug at the top here, and we'll do at the bottom as well. You can follow Joe at Matt Halos and check out his podcast, The Book of Joe, with our friend Tom Verducci. Joe, I wanted to start with innings limits and your thought process on how that works with young starters, and specifically if you've followed what Garrett Crochet is doing, because he's not a rookie. He's been in the league for a few seasons, but only as a reliever. He's dealt with some injuries. If you're the White Sox and you're potentially trading a player like this, how do you handle it on their side and on the side of a contending team if they ask you for your opinion?
One more time. You said innings. I that kind of cut out.
Innings cap, like an innings innings limit
gotcha.
in baseball,
Yeah.
and how you'd handle someone like him who's going to go way past anything he's done before.
That's what I need to know, what he's done before. That's very important. This goes way back, and this all speaks to minor league training, that these guys really don't get trained in a way that when by the time they get to the major leagues, they're able to do things major league pitchers are supposed to be able to do. I stand by that. When I ran his rookie ball, Kirk McCaskill pitched a 9-inning shutout against the Medford A's, like 110 pitches when he was like 21 or 22. Or Bono Lugo did the same thing the next night in Medford. Bobby Kipper threw, I don't advocate this, but 140 pitches for me as a youngster in Salem, Oregon. This is like way over the top. But if you're trying to protect against injury, everybody keeps getting injured anyway. So I don't agree with any of that. So as you're moving it forward, though, based on the way standards are set today, you have to be really aware of the number of innings he's pitched. And I'm into like number of pitches thrown too. I think that matters also. There's a lot of guys that throw 100 pitches in 5 innings or 4 1/3, and other guys might throw 100 more consistently in 6 or 7. So there's a lot of this to be equated with. I look at the individual, yes, track record. If I'm the acquisitional team, I really want to know what that's all about. Is he actually going to be beneficial to me when it matters most, or is he not? The team giving him up, they're going to have to, the value is going to be decreased a bit if this guy's not perceived to be able to help them the latter part of the year. So there's a lot going on. It all starts in the minor leagues. It all starts with overarching philosophy. The idea of protecting from injury to me is really overblown these days.
I completely agree. But let's say you're the manager of the team that picks up Crochet, and you've gotten all your information. You see, well, you know what? I'm painting the picture as a manager based on what I'm getting the information from the White Sox. I'm nervous about his pitch count. This guy comes to you and says, I want to throw. How do you handle him as a manager? Because you are a playoff team before he got there and you want to win the World Series with this guy. How do you communicate that to a guy who wants to throw?
Well, first of all, it's going to be dictated by the front offices anyway, regardless of who the manager is. So what they tell the manager to think, he's going to think. That's pretty much how it works these days. So from my perspective, I would be reticent if the guy hasn't thrown that much and he comes to me and says that he wants to. I have to ask him to pump the brakes and give him my best call on this whole thing. I mean, there's a lot of times, a player is going to come to you and there's a lot of, testosterone floating around and guys really want to do more than they might be, not necessarily capable, but maybe ready to do based on how they've been handled in the past. So honestly, when it comes down to a moment like that, it's not so much what the manager thinks. It's what the front office thinks and what they tell him, what they perceive to be his limitations are. And that's going to be the value set.
Can a team win with a front? I mean, win. I mean, the World Series, not make the playoffs, not have a neat story, not over projected wins. Can they win the World Series if the man on the field is not allowed to make the decisions because that's who sees it and that's who has the pulse every day in the clubhouse?
Well, that has to start way sooner than the World Series or the playoffs. That has to be from spring training, and that has to be felt during the course of the year, because there's only one way you're going to get into the rhythm of managing like that is that you've been managing like that all year. So just to think that you're going to be kind of dictated to during the season and then set loose at that time of the year, it's actually the opposite. You're going to be kind of like maybe set loose a little bit early on, but as things get tighter, the races get tighter, and you have better opportunity to win, that's when there's going to be more interference. That's been my experience. So that's how it works. I mean, regardless of what people might say and how guys might argue that point, I'm just being honest with you. That's how this thing comes down right now. I believe that Boch had like a freer reign last year from Jump Street, and I don't think he would have done it otherwise. And I'm not saying that he doesn't this year, but overall, if I look through each team, it's hard to imagine any of the guys. Maybe Davey somewhat in Washington with Riz. Riz is kind of that ilk. But for the most part, everybody's working from the same sheet of music, following the same set of rules. And that's part of, I believe, why there's so much mediocrity in 500-ness. That second wild card really permits a different method of thinking where being 5, 10, 15, 20 games over 500 isn't as important as it was in the past.
Joe, do you think that's why, and I've talked a little bit about this, the Dodgers, the Rays, they have great success in the regular season, and they get to the postseason, and I know the Dodgers won in 2020. Yes, but it was the shortened year and the shortened play or the different playoff format. But why they've had so much trouble? Because they're able to do the taxi squad up and down, right, with their pitchers. So, we have an IL, like, this guy's hurt, we'll send him down, or we'll put him on the 10-day IL. In the postseason, they can't do that. And because they don't use their starting pitchers enough, get deep enough into games, then all of a sudden they get caught and their guys are tired. Like we saw with the Rays against the Dodgers in 2020 when they took Snell out, they brought guys in, they scored.
Yeah, I don't know how you could rely on your bullpen that much. I mean, part of the other part of it is what you do to your bullpen. These guys are gassed by the end of the year. So I listen, I think the game works well when you get minimum 5. And in today's game, I'm not opposed to 6 starters if everybody's used to that. I'm not, because that's also going to ameliorate some minds regarding overwork, overusage. But at least you want at least 5 that you like. And then you got to have like this stockpile somewhat in your minor league system because guys are going to get hurt. The thing we did with the Rays, I can't remember the exact year it was, but Alex Cobb was coming on. So we had a 5-man until right after the All-Star break. Then we broke into a 6-man for about 2 or 3 trips around the order, and then came back to 5. And I really liked that a lot. So even if you could get creative with 5 and then drop a 6 in there once in a while, come back to 5. Because early in the season, with so many days off, rainouts, et cetera, the 6th guy can really make it even more difficult and better. So there's different. You got to like plan this out in advance, and you have to have way more than 5 starters that you dig, and you have to have that arsenal in AAA. Absolutely, you do. But the more innings you draw out of your starting pitchers, the better your bullpen's going to be. That's an easy equation to decipher. When you put so much emphasis in innings and high leverage moments as they're described on bullpens constantly, these guys are dead when it comes to September and October.
Agreed. All right. Have you seen, it's been talked about the ABS, right? The automatic balls and strikes with the challenge system and this and that. So I have to ask you, do you remember a game in Texas one time where there was a great call and a great frame by a catcher, and it ended a game and you and Ben Zobrist got really mad, and then the umpire told me the next day that actually that was a strike on the Questec system. So explain to me why you and Ben Zobrist got so mad when Joe Nathan got his 300 save.
The ball bounced almost.
Well, that doesn't matter. It was a strike and it was a frame. It was the best frame, second best frame in my career.
Oh, that was you.
Oh, it was me.
Oh, dude, I didn't even realize that. Well, there you go again. Oh, you're always screwing me somehow. So I mean, that was like the most awful looking strike. If in fact the umpire was giving you straight up good shit, that might have been possible, but it was the worst looking pitch. I mean, what's his name? Nathan knew it was a ball. He was like, when it was told to strike, he became euphoric because that was his 300 save right there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the ABS system, there's going to be a lot of visuals. You're right. There's going to be a lot of things that look like a ball that's going to be called a strike. Strike's going to be a ball. There's going to be all that stuff going back and forth. I prefer this because I'm not into that. I do like human beings. I like the idea of having the system, but like maybe having like a little earbud in the umpire's ear for when he misses something. And he's alerted to when he misses something so that during the course of the game, he might be able to improve his strike zone based on information. So in other words, if the ball's like 2 inches, 3 inches outside, he calls it a strike. Put him in his little ear, but it's going to say something. No, that was a ball. That was a strike. So I like that. I like some kind of information going to the umpire during the game. Very subtle. Nobody else knows about it, and this guy needs to start making adjustments based on what he's hearing in his earbud. But I don't like anything. Okay, I do like the ability to reverse really horrible calls. I do agree with that. So that's a good thing. But overall, man, I listen. Tech's taken over the world, man. I'm not into that. I mean, I know a lot of people are. I like heartbeats. I like human beings. I like to be augmented with what we're doing, but not taken over by it.
Well, anytime that I can make a correlation between AJ's career and my career, I love it because Ben Zobrist was hitting, got thrown out of a game in Chicago in 18. You were managing.
That's right.
And I was back there for that one. So me and AJ, while he's a fringe Hall of Famer, I'm a fringe big leaguer. There was so many correlations that we can make. I appreciate that. Thank you.
That was Phil Cuzzy. And I said to Phil, do you realize that Ben Zobrist is arguing with you? Do you know what that means if Ben Zobrist is arguing with you? How could you sleep at night if Ben Zobrist is arguing with you? You know he's got to be right. He would never argue otherwise. I remember that too. And I played golf with Phil like 2 winters ago. Good guy.
Yes. And he asked me, he said, was that a strike? I said, Phil, that wasn't even close. He's like, I feel so terrible about throwing those guys out. But it was besides the point. And,
doesn't matter. It's fun. It's fun to get thrown. It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
So would you be against the challenge system of the ABS then? Since we're on the ABS and that's a human side of it.
Sure. No, listen. Where you're permitting the correction of calls on the bases already, correction of home run, fair ball, foul ball kind of stuff. You're permitting that. I'd have to see it. I watch the NBA and they get into those challenge systems late in the game, and wow, does that slow things down? You talk about speeding up the game, and it becomes rather annoying in a sense. It's one of those things I'd have to see in action. That's that one for me to be prescient and try to project exactly what I thought. is difficult. On the surface, I prefer not, but I'm not that static, and I would be willing to watch it or try it or even see what it looks like in a minor league game to understand a little bit better. I understand it in principle, but in action, it could be something completely different.
Joe, you love. I want to know about this because you were a big wine guy after games, and
Still am.
so how long after you get ejected would you go in there and have a glass of wine, or would you wait till the game was over? Because I know when I got ejected, I was having a beer as soon as I walked through the door of the clubhouse. So would you wait? And how
No.
are you? No, you would not.
No, immediately. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we do agree on at least one thing in life. And
We
that's
do.
good.
There was a time in Washington I got ejected when Davey Johnson challenged Joe Peralta with having sticky stuff on his fingers. Now, he just pitched for them the year before, so they knew everything about him. So all of a sudden, they're going to be smart, challenge him. They kick him out of the game, and I was incensed. I was over by their dugout, all this kind of stuff. So Rosie's the clubby. I walk in. I said, Rosie, give me a shot. I wanted a shot at that point. I needed to settle down. He says, we're not permitted to have alcohol in the clubhouse. And I said, what about everybody in the stands? And furthermore, these guys are 21 and older. All these guys, they're old enough to vote. They're old enough to serve in the war. And you tell me they can't have a drink after the game? The next day, I had like a bottle of Jack and a bottle of Crown in my locker, big bottles. The next day. So yes, there's times it requires Crown, and there's other times just a good glass of wine.
Hey, Joe, I'm going to mix in a couple of fan questions for you. First,
Sure.
two guys that you know well, obviously, that you were very victorious with. So Comic in the chat says, what do you think of the struggles of Javier Baez and Chris Bryant since leaving the Cubs? Also, I'll just add to this. Like, have you kept in touch with those guys? What are you seeing or what are you hearing?
No, I haven't necessarily. Briefly, I think I've texted Hobby once or twice and maybe KB a bit ago, but nothing recently. I know it's awful. It bothers me a lot to see that. I've seen Hobby a little bit on the tube, and actually I texted with Scotty Harris, the GM there, because Scotty and I are friends, and it bothers me. It absolutely bothers me. I mean, for me, I'm just seeing Hobby. I mean, he's always had the big swing, the John Daly hack, but he's like even more out of control than ever from what I saw. And I just think he needs to reel it in a little bit. I don't even know what his defense looks like. I don't get to watch them a lot on television, but it bothers me. It deeply bothers me. And KB too. I mean, KB's been injured a lot. You would think that he'd tear up that ballpark in Colorado, but that hasn't happened either. So it really, legitimately, viscerally, it bothers me to see these guys struggle so much. I love them both. I hate seeing it. Neither one obviously looks right. I'd have to be there, boots on the ground with them to know a little bit more and talk to them, that kind of a thing. But these guys were so integral and part of the ascension of the Chicago Cubs, and to see them struggle bothers me.
Another fan question from a Cubs fan talking about the state of the Cubs. And since you are the forever godfather of the Cubs, now that you won the World Series there as the manager, what kind of advice or counsel would you give to one of my favorite managers, Craig Counsell, going through this in that city?
Well, I don't know Craig that well, but I know he's done such a wonderful job managing against them a lot. To me, the biggest thing to do there is to, for me, it's about setting your own tone there. Don't ever follow anybody else's advice regarding how to set up your day, what the day's supposed to look like. I don't even know if they're a little bit too uptight. They miss Tim Buss. They miss Tim Buss more than anything. That's the kind of guy that you need. I just watched him in the dugout. It looks like a little bit of an uptight situation. You can't be that way in Chicago. You cannot. You got to be loose. You got to parcel out your work based on a lot of those day games and the weather in the summertime. Just follow your own script. Don't permit others to really infiltrate it so much that you get away from your own game plan and what you do well or best. But I would give that advice to any manager. It just seems to me that there might be a little bit uptight, and they can't be that way.
All right, Joe, staying on that subject, you were also manager of the Angels. What advice would you give to Ron Washington? Because he's kind of going through the same thing you went through for years there, just spinning your tires in Anaheim. No one can seem to get traction. Yeah,
it's difficult. There's a lot of inbred things there that I'm not going to get into that make it more difficult. And quite frankly, the year that I had been let go, we had the best start they had in a long time. We had a tough stretch. I agree with that. But then not really given an opportunity to get it back to where I went there for that one reason. I wanted to be an Angel. I am an Angel. I grew up an Angel, grew up a California Angel. My thought process was going back there because that's who I am. I'm a Hazleton High School Mountaineer. I'm a Lafayette College Leopard. Then I thought I was a California Angel. So I wanted to go back there for that purpose. I think there's an identity situation that has to be established. You have to a method and way of playing the game. Angels used to be real gritty. You saw them when you were with Minnesota. We played against one another way back then too. And there's a method of play, tough guys, great pitching, just played hard every second of every game. And I don't know what it's like now. I know we were trying to work back that way back into it while I was there, but I don't know that they have an actual identity yet. And that was a big part of my push, was to create our own identity and not follow anybody else's dance card.
Yeah, that's
Hey,
why
Joe.
That's why you and I never got
Go ahead.
along, Joe. Because that 2002, Adam Kennedy hit 3 homers in the game of his life. Thanks. Still have nightmares.
I was right.
So,
Bottom right corner of the dugout. I saw that last one. It was against Santana, right to right central.
oh yeah, mm-hmm.
That thing
Yeah.
never came down. AK
Yeah,
had the funkiest worst swing ever, but he could square him up.
Hey, Joe, one more follow on the Angels. So how much does it matter to have every little piece of the puzzle with an organization put together in terms of investing in your minor leaguers and everything around it? Because that part has been well documented about the Angels cutting corners sometimes. And why not just, look at an offseason one time and say, hey, let's skip one reliever and make sure we do all of those things that we haven't done, that many other organizations are doing that help the development process.
Well, I mean, listen, the developmental process you don't have to be a cookie cutter and follow everybody else. You have to, like I said, I believe everybody wants to be like everybody else in today's world, in today's game. I really believe in the individuality of the group. You need to hire your instructors, your best instructors. I think part of the problem is that the game's not being passed down from generation to generation right now by actually former players or former coaches, guys that have been there, done that, guys that are proven great instructors, teachers. A lot of the value coaches these days are coming from places, drive lines and things of that nature. And all of a sudden, this is considered the way to pass the game along. And these are today's gurus. I'm here to tell you, man, if I'm starting a group tomorrow, definitely got Larry Bow in that group. Absolutely. I don't care how old Larry Bow is. Yeah, and people like that. We need people to pass the game down, to have it played properly. Guys have to be told when they're screwing up, doing things wrong. And I think you could watch a lot of games today, and I keep getting queried about, did you see how sloppy the play was? Now, listen, you could have sloppy play with the best instructors in the world. I'm not arguing that. But the game is devolved into the point where there's a brand. It's like everybody's after their own brand and a show me kind of a thing, as opposed to playing this team concept that's individualized by the Dodgers or the Cardinals or the Pirates of the past, which I loved. And I thought the Angels in the 90s and early 2000s, we had an identity. I thought the Rays, when we got to the Rays, we established an identity. Those are the kind of things that's never talked about anymore. It's all based on analytical data and a sameness. Everybody wants a sameness when it comes down to draft. And furthermore, there are no minor leagues anymore. That's been so watered down. I'm here to tell you, man, under these circumstances, I'd never get an opportunity to eventually do what I did, because I would have never been placed in a minor league system for the period of time to get the kind of experience I needed to establish becoming a coach, manager, et cetera. So none of that stuff's ever discussed, but that to me, that bothers me. I mean, and if you want to grow fan bases, you're taking so many teams away from cities and leagues, and that was such a big part of our fabric. And I missed that. I think I probably missed more than people talk about, but all those things matter. All those things count.
Okay, well then how do you balance that, Joe? Because you were famously known for changing things, dress codes, little league days, whatever you used to call them. How do you manage that, though? How do you balance that in today's game? Because like you said, everyone is about their image and their whatever you want to call it. But then you also have to try to do a team, because it starts, listen, I have a 17-year-old, Kratz has a 17-year-old. Those showcases, those events, a lot of times are about, hey, how far can I hit it? How hard can I throw? If we lose, who cares? I got 2 hits. So how do you balance that when you get to the major league level?
I'm with you, man. I've talked about that. Everybody wants to be best in show. It's always about being best in show. Part of it, I live in Hazleton, Pennsylvania. I'm looking out my window right now, and I can look up there, and there's Wilkes-Barre. I can look over there, there's Berwick. Bloomsburg is down the street right there. Freeland's over there on top of the hill. Nobody plays locally, and nobody plays for their city or their team or their locale anymore. It's always about these events, these showcase events that you pay to play, you travel, and it's not necessarily about team and winning anymore. It's about me. And we're promoting that. That's part of the fabric anymore. I would love, I've talked about people locally with this, to establish a league that you then get people to stay here. I played for the Scranton Red Sox for a year in the ACBL. 2 years I spent with them up in Scranton, and I love playing for the Scranton Red Sox. But there's none of this loyalty. Loyalty's really become an archaic term. And I would just love to see more of that. But you're not going to put the genie back in the bottle. You're just going to see bigger and bigger showcases. And within these showcases, you're promoting yourself and not the team or the group. And there's nothing you can do about it. That's just the way it is. But I think that's part of what we're seeing. And the issue, the problem you're talking about, we've created. I think it's been our mistake. And I miss the Babe Ruth and American Legion and all the stuff we played in this area. And you try to beat your neighbors. It was great. It was a great rivalry. And that's where teamwork comes in.
One quick one. Have you seen the documentary, The Koshien, about the Koshien Championship in Japan?
I have not.
Koshien Championship is all the high schools in Japan, no matter the size, play in a tournament, and you just play single elimination. You're knocked out all the way till the end. So it could be a single A team, could be a 6A team, could be a Florida team, California team. Could we ever do that in the States?
Probably not. I love the concept. I would, if you could at least make it a double elimination somehow. I'm good with playing a tournament. Like if Hazleton High School baseball team could stay together and play all summer against other locals, that would be outstanding. You just keep wearing that same name on the front of the jersey. You play for that name. Coaching stays the same. You increase your fun. It's still no different than a minor league team. Then you get back to your regular season, and here we go. I love that kind of stuff. I love playing for the front of the uniform over the back of the uniform, but we just don't promote it.
Joe, this was awesome. Always really appreciate the time to have you on. You're one of the best in the media world already, and the game misses you. I know you're not going to say it yourself, but the game misses you too. Follow Joe at Mad Halos with 2 Ds, MADD Halos, and also check out his podcast, Book of Joe, and it is with Tom Verducci, the genius in our sport as well, who covers this game. And yes, he's great. And so I listen to almost every episode, getting caught up right now. Joe, thanks again. Really appreciate the time. Always awesome to have you.
Appreciate it, boys. You guys have a great day. Thank you.
You too, Joe Maddon. And again, it's the Book of Joe. You can listen to it, and we'll be right back. Hey, here we are, and we're going to tell everyone about an event that's coming up in just a few days now that we're very excited about. AJ Pierzynski, Jason Kipnis, and Alana Rizzo are going to be in Chicago this weekend. What are you up to this weekend, AJ?
Well, first of all, I'm doing the Yankees-Red Sox game in New York on Saturday. And then I'm flying to Chicago to do the NASCAR race. And I'm still waiting on whether it's Claudia, whether it's Scott, whether it's Mark, one of our producers, to figure out how they're going to get me in the pace car or have me drive a race car around this thing. But other than that, I'm going to be at NASCAR Chicago with Kip and Alana, and we're going to have a good old time. We're probably going to sweat a little bit. We're probably going to drink a little bit, and we're going to have a good time.
Yeah, Alana, as you know, probably from Dodgers territory or from Fair territory, even being on foul with us, likes a good glass of wine. So if you can set her up with a nice glass of wine for the show, that would be great. And you can get your tickets right now at NASCARchicago.com. Again, that's NASCARchicago.com. Our show is going to be 11 a.m. Central Time. We'll stream it live on the FT YouTube channel like we do. And we will also be there, of course, with Kip and AJ and Alana. So Kratz and me will be watching. We'll be watching on YouTube. All right. We will be right back. A couple things to look forward to include that Pat Murphy call that we were talking about with the Rockies and the Brewers. And I was going to talk about it here, but we'll save it for some more time later in the show. I see you in the chat, everybody asking about Tim Anderson. And to get these guys' opinion, we will talk about him getting designated for assignment at some point soon. Well, standing O, what's up? We're back on FT. And if you're watching us on TV or on the Valley Sports TV app for the first time, hey, it's Scott Braun, AJ Pierzynski, and Erik Kratz. And also, if you're watching on Marquee, hello, this is our first week on the Cubs Network, Marquee Sports Network. Okay, so let's get to a standing O for a big prospect debut that, in my opinion, took too long to marinate in the minor leagues, but that is how service time works still in our game. If you don't call a guy up on opening day, you wait it out so you can get an extra year and not have to pay him as much in arbitration. But anyway, James Wood made his debut, batting sixth, playing left field for the Washington Nationals. AJ, how do you think he looked? He got a knock right away and just took the deep breath. I also was not aware that there was an actual party going on in the district. Like every pitch in that first at bat that got to 3-2, they were cheering. It was like a playoff game.
It was awesome. And I watched the opponents. I watched the Mets broadcast of this at bat, and they were talking about the atmosphere, which you don't hear Gary and Ron and Keith do very much, but they were saying, man, this is like everyone's hanging on every pitch. And I have to say I'm a fan of James Wood now because I did not know that his father is from East Hampton High School, where my mother went to high school. So, where us Hamptonites are from. So I have to say I get a little more respect for James Wood and his family. And apparently his dad was a heck of a basketball player at East Hampton High School. But it was an awesome moment and incredible thing that he got this hit and he got the Nats fans excited. They brought their natitude, like we talked to Jake Irvin about yesterday. And cool, he got his first hit. They didn't win the game, which I'm sure he's disappointed about, but he had a great debut and big things to come for this kid.
He's a real deal. Real deal. He can float. He takes a first knock is an opposite field rocket past the shortstop. Take it. Like this is exactly why they told him, or it got leaked he was getting called up on Monday and they didn't want him to play, I think, in Minnesota on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Because maybe the front office isn't like, well, those 3 games really don't matter. Let's just make sure that we get extra natitude in Nationals Park on Monday.
Would that bother you if you were him, Kratz?
No.
If you
It would
found
bother
out the
me if
news
I was
on
a
Friday?
teammate.
Teammates,
It would
right,
bother
right.
me if I was Jake Irvin or Kyle Finnegan or Jesse Winker. Like guys that, not Jake Irvin necessarily, but Kyle Finnegan probably enjoys playing for the Nats. If this team doesn't make a push and get to the playoffs, he could be traded. Jesse Winker is having a resurgent year. I assume he probably likes playing for the Nats, probably likes his teammates. He wants to keep playing with them. Like guys don't want to get traded, but if the organization doesn't want to win, then they have to get traded. You can't let a veteran just like hang around on a 500 team. But what if they miss it by 2 games? What if they miss it by 1 game and they didn't call him up? Just this 3 games. I'm not even going to talk about, well, he's injured, they wanted more at bats, all that stuff. I'm talking about what if they knew he was getting called up on a Monday and they wanted him to make his debut at home instead of on the road. They're essentially saying those 3 games don't matter. Well, you would never do that in September. Hey, we don't want him to break the rookie record for home runs on the road, so we're going to sit him until we get home. Like, it would never happen. And yet, so many times throughout the game, this type of stuff happens, and she's like, "Oh, okay, well that's cool. He got to debut at Nats Park."
Yeah, no, it's a good call. I made that case for many years with service time when it was even more of a problem before this latest collective bargaining agreement. Real quick, 2 things I want to point out. One, he was clocked at 30.2 feet per second running to first in the 9th inning. And Grant Paulson showed the fastest runners in Major League Baseball this season by average time. So 30.2 would be in 3rd place behind Bobby Witt Jr., Victor Scott, and right in front of Ellie De La Cruz. It would be by far the fastest national once he qualifies, or however that works with StatCast. So I just want to make sure everyone is aware of what kind of tools this guy possesses. He can play center field. They happen to have one of the better center fielders in the league in Jacob Young, so he's fine in a corner. Just let him focus and do his thing. But it is there for him if Young is sitting, or in the future for the Nationals. And also, this trade for the Nats might scare teams away from making deals. they look at a deal like this and say CJ Abrams, who is a first division, all-star caliber shortstop now. You have James Wood, who could be one of the better players in the league ceiling wise. Mackenzie Gore, who pitched really well yesterday. They actually took him out a little too early, which I think cost them the game. And he looks like he's going to be, an upper echelon starter in the bigs, probably a really good 2, something like that. So anyway, you add it all up, and Nats fans should be very excited about this. Mets fans are excited too, because they won the game. That game was freaking crazy. 10th inning, 10 runs scored. Mets end up on top. All right, we're going to talk to an NL East friend, Whit Merrifield, next up on FT. We'll get ready for that. Okay, we got a few minutes here. AJ Tim Anderson was designated for assignment by the Miami Marlins. A couple years ago, he was an all-star on the Chicago White Sox. Here's Craig Mish. By all accounts, TA was perfectly fine in the clubhouse. Can't say a negative thing about him. On the field, his play has just completely deteriorated. Not much else to add. Miami eats the money. They move on. He waited for a long time to sign. I believe it was $5 million. And when you are not getting it done on a bottom 3 offense in the bigs, you wonder if he's going to ever play again.
Yeah, this is bad. He really struggled last year. Went through some stuff last year, and he just had a bad year. And then he gets to be a free agent, and he signs with the Marlins. Everyone thinks, oh, it's a fresh start. He'll get a new start and be good. And he was one of the worst players in the league, if not the worst player in the league. No power, no extra base hits, no defense wasn't very good. Maybe he just needs a breather, or maybe he's done. I don't know. If he's done, man, it came quick, because this guy not too long ago, just a few years ago, was winning batting titles and one of the most exciting people in the league. And now just disappeared. He lost it. I don't know where it goes. I don't know how you re-find it again, but maybe he needs to take a step back, go home, look himself in the mirror and start over and say, all right, I'll go to spring training. I'm going to have to go on a minor league invite and try to make a team. But that's the best thing he can look forward to, because I don't think anyone's going to pick him up at this point, because it's not a flash in the pan bad month or bad week. This is a year and a half of not being very good.
His defense was improved metrics wise. There was some improvement there, but offensively, not sure what happened. You're not even talking about like a guy who was like just an above average player. You're talking about batting title. You're talking about a possibly franchise cornerstone. So I have a hard time, maybe this is the ignorant player in me, believing that it's gone this fast. Dealing with things off the field, dealing with not having success then on the field is harder than people will ever realize. And I have a hard time believing this is it. But if it is it, I think he has a lot to hang his hat on, a career that really was amazing and it fizzled out too fast. But I just feel like because he was able to improve his range as a shortstop, I think there's a glimmer of hope there, because I just don't feel like it ends that fast. Not at 31 years old.
Yeah, he had knee issues last year, a negative WAR player, 30 OPS plus. It was bad, but we'll see if anyone picks him up. Foul Territory is back. Whit Merrifield is back on the show. Whit, good to see you, man. How's everything going, first of all? We'll get into you individually a little bit, but with the team also battling some injuries right now. I know Bryce and Schwartz go down recently, but I will say when Trey Turner got hurt, as awesome as he is, the depth of the Phillies really played out, and you guys held up okay, huh?
Yeah. What's up, guys? No, things are great. Phillies are cruising, and things are going good. Dodged a couple bullets with the severity of Harp and Schwartz. JT looking to get him back pretty soon too. So, those are all good signs. But in their absence, we've still been pretty good. So, just credit to this team and this organization as a whole, and guys just stepping up and finding ways to win.
Well, before we dig into this interview, first of all, I'm mad at you because I didn't see you in London. But all you did was go out and hit a 3-run homer in that game. So maybe, you you should invite me to more Phillies games. I don't know, especially overseas.
Come on, yeah. Overseas, let's keep it on this side of the sea. That was a fun trip, but did it, check that box. But yeah, no, come back anytime. We're in
All right.
Chicago right now. So where you at?
I'm in Orlando, but I will be in Chicago on Sunday, not for the game, but you guys will be gone. But if there's one team right now that can get you hot, get the Phillies hot, and stay hot, it's the Cubs because, man, they are really not playing very well. I know you won't say it, but listen, when you're driving in on Lakeshore today, look at the waves, okay? If it's Whitecaps, get the ball in the air. You're going to go deep today.
I'm not starting today, so if I go deep, it'll have to be later on in the game.
That's fine.
Yeah. So we're playing tomorrow, so yeah, we'll check the Whitecaps tomorrow. But I don't need the Whitecaps to go deep. Come on, man, I got juice.
I'm just saying though, that's just an easy one because you can just flick it. I saw the juice too in London, but if the Whitecaps, that means it's blowing out. You just flick it up in the air and it just goes right over the basket, and then everyone's throwing beer and throwing balls at you. It's great.
Perfect. Love that.
Hey, all right, Whit. Wanted to ask you about how things are going for you. Obviously, haven't been off to the best start, but how are you feeling at the plate right now, and what are you working on?
Yeah, it hasn't been the best start in red for me. Would love to be able to go back and try it again, get off to a better start. But at the end of the day, I've got 30, 40 at bats. This new role that I've kind of been assigned this year has not been as easy of a transition for me as I thought it would be. I do feel like I'm sort of adjusting and learning how to go about it and getting better at it. I have gotten better at it as the season has gone on. But no, I feel like lately my bats have been better. I don't know how the numbers show that, but I feel better in the box that I'm getting more comfortable, having 3 or 4 at bats and then having a couple days off and then doing that again. So I'm finding a little bit more of a rhythm in that, finding a little bit more of a mentality to where I don't feel like every time, if I play once a series, when you're used to playing every day, if you've got a whole series to kind of put something together. And early on, I was like, well, shoot, I might get 3 or 4 at bats this series. I got to do something here. And if I didn't get it done the first at bat, there was more pressure on me second at bat and then third at bat. So I'm learning how to just kind of deal with that, and hopefully I can take these next 140 at bats and kind of show Philadelphia what I can do. Because for me, I know I'm new to the city and they're new to me, but I've got 4,000 some at bats in my career, and that's what I'm leaning on to the player that I am, and not these 130, 140 at bats that have started the season for me. So that's where my head's at. Saying all that, we're still the best team in baseball, so it's a great time for me to be struggling. And as I came to Philadelphia to win a World Series, and I hope that my game starts getting to where I know it can be in the important times of the season, and that's late summer into fall.
Because we're talking on July 2nd right now, what is that roller coaster like? Because for me, I look at a Whit Merrifield. Guy struggled to get to the big leagues. Guy got to the big leagues and is winning batting titles, going to all-star games, most hits in the league, all that stuff. And now you're going through a new struggle that I feel like, all jokes aside, I dealt with my entire career. I'd never played. So can you talk about like the mindset of knowing that it's July 2nd and cleaning the slate to the point of when you started to feel your swing is better, now the ball just needs to start falling?
Yeah, I mean, look, the struggle for me, I've gone through slumps in my career, and the difference really this year is that I'm not going to have those 700 at bats to put together a full season. I might have 300 or 400 at bats. So that's different for one, and two, like if I was in Kansas City right now, like it's not there's no. I've never been one to really like stress about my game. I know my game, and I know that over time I'll get back to who I am and what I do. And I'm 35 years old. I'm the player that I am at this point in my career. If people want to like talk about my age and the reason that I'm struggling, I wish I could blame it on that. But physically, if you look at my numbers, they're actually better than they were like 4 years ago. Whether it's weight room numbers, my speed is up, so I can't blame my age, unfortunately. But the biggest, I guess, press for me is not the numbers; it's being on a new team in a new city and not having really done anything that I know I can do to show this team that brought me on to help them win a World Series, like who they signed, and to show the city and the new fan base. So that's like that's the one thing that's really kind of been frustrating and hard for me is I haven't been able to do what I want to do to show these guys like who I am and what I can do. So I know I'll get to where I want to be. I'm just trying to show this new city, and I think probably has made it a little harder on myself. I've made it a little harder on myself in wanting to do that, but it's just the nature of being on a new team.
Whit, when you transition to not getting consistent everyday at bats, is there something that you're learning in terms of how to make sure that you are on track and that you feel like you're right at the plate besides just feel? So the example I've actually used for guys and confidence is, Paul Goldschmidt, not this year, but in seasons past, where he'll have a cold first month and he'll look at his StatCast numbers and also just his ABs and be like, I'm scoring the crap out of the ball, right? You actually had this from when I knew you back in the day. In the Cape League, I remember I learned about scouting partially through conversations like this, talking to scouts, and they're like, oh, this Whit Merrifield, he's going to make it. He's good. And you were hitting like 100, but you were squaring every ball to center field, right? Like you were making a lot of really solid contact, but you played a good amount there, but you don't get everyday ABs, and it's only about a month. So it's hard to get a gauge of like, did I have a successful month here? Scouts said yes, even though your numbers didn't necessarily say that was the case.
Yeah, and I'm not the kind of player that's gonna be the one to my exit velocities. I'm sitting at I'm averaging 96, 97 this past month. Yeah, that's not the kind of player I am. I can hit the ball hard, but when I get to 2 strikes, I'm a guy that doesn't want to strike out. So, if there's that borderline slider, a lot of times, sometimes, you're fooled and you strike out or whatever, but a lot of times if it's a good pitcher's pitch, instead of taking it and giving it and putting it in the umpire's hands, I'm doing what I can to put it in play and see if I can, doink one into right or hit a soft line drive to the middle, or even, maybe even like a chopper that the shortstop has to make a hard play on, I can beat it out. So that those affect like those StatCast numbers. So you can't, like, for me, my game, you can't really look at that. But the biggest adjustment that I've tried to make is that when your swing's not feeling good, you're not playing every day, as a hitter, you find little things in your swing, little triggers, whatever you want to call them, throughout the course of the game. And you can do what you want in the cage. You can tinker with your swing in the cage, and that's all fine and good. But until you get in the game and you're like, okay, well, there it is with my load, or that was the feeling I'm looking for. When you do that in the game and you're playing every day, you take that into the next day, and then the next day you build on it. When you're not playing every day, like it could be my third at bat, and I'm like, oh yeah, there it was. Like I saw the ball, I was seeing the ball good, I picked it up, I was on time, made a good swing, got a hit a ball hard, whatever it is. Now I might have 4 days before I get to play again. So I've tried to figure out ways to keep that feeling and carry that into the next time I get to play. It's more difficult when it's not the next day, but with the technology that we have now in the cage and like the spin ball machines and being able to replicate different pitches, that's kind of what I've tried to lean on to keep that game-like feeling when I'm not playing. And like I said, it's not easy. It's pinch hitting is the most difficult thing to do in baseball, for one. So that's something that's somewhat been new to me this year. And then not playing every day has been a little difficult as well. But like I said, I'm learning, trying to get better at it. I feel like I am getting better at it, and I'd rather be playing well. I'd rather go through what I am now to be playing well in September than have a great 5 months and then fall off a cliff in September. So that's where my head's at, and let's hope we can manifest that into happening.
Love that. Love it. Because you will. As Charlie Manuel says, water levels out. So your water's going to level out. You'll hit what you normally hit. And the only advice I can give pinch hitting, because that was the one area in the big leagues I was actually decent at, just let it eat. You come and let it eat. Don't even worry about it. All you like smart, good hitters, the pitchers are not that smart. You're just going to let it eat. One's going to be middle, and you're just going to smash it. That's it. Pinch hitting, that's simple. Ross Glow taught me that.
I was talking to Topper the other day, and just talking really, and we were talking about pinch hitting and the difficulties of it and all that, and he said, yeah, Hideki Matsui used to say, pinch hitting is it's like taking a crap. You just sit there, relax, and you enjoy it. So that's what I'm going to try to do, I guess. I thought that was a good analogy.
I like that. I've never heard that analogy, but I like it. Speaking of Topper, what does he bring to this team? Now, this is your first year with him as a manager. You guys have had injuries. You've had Turner go down. You've had JT go down. Now Harper go down. And you guys continue to win. As a player, I sit there and I go, it's the players that step up. It's the Christian Pache. It's the Johan Rojas coming from the minor leagues. It's Edmundo Sosa filling in for Trey Turner. That's who does it. But what credit does Topper get in all of this success that the Phillies have had?
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's the players that are playing, but the tone is set by the manager. And Topper he's been around the game. He's been around great teams. He knows what this baseball season is like. He knows how the game goes. He knows there are ebbs and flows to the game. He knows how hard the game is. And there's just like such a steady presence from him. Whether things are going good, things are going bad. We know the kind of team that we have. We know that we have a bad game. We blow a game on Thursday against Miami, and it's that stuff just happens. Like pitchers aren't going to go out and get 1, 2, 3 innings every time. They're going to have bad outings. Hitters aren't going to go out and get the job done every time. They're going to strike out. They're going to not do a job. You just want to feel like you're prepared to do the job. You're in the right position, and you go out and do the best you can. We have enough talent on this team where majority of the time it's going to work out in our favor. But sometimes it doesn't, and that's just how baseball works. And Topper, there's no panic ever from him. You don't feel panic from him at all. You just feel like this calming, we're going to be fine. We lost today, so what? We'll win tomorrow. We lose tomorrow. It's all right. We're a good team. We're going to be where we want to be at the end of the year. Just keep playing the right way, keep playing hard. And that's the tone that's set by our manager, and it's the perfect tone to have, especially for this team. And just can't say enough good things about him.
Hey, Whit, everything you've said has been unbelievable. And did you see what Ron Washington said the other day about, I think it was Neto, it doesn't matter who it was, but he's like, you're not going to find the answers on the iPad. Well, now when you look at the iPad, they took away the little box, right? So you can't even tell if it's a ball or a strike. And then you guys had to fight, right? You guys had to fight to get it back. Like, what are we doing? Why can't we just see if it's a ball or a strike?
Well, because the umpires didn't want us to be able to see if it was a ball or strike, because that was causing issues. And that was the answer. So we fought back, and we finally got the box back. And along with the box getting back, we got a nice email saying if we showed or we referenced like the strike zone on the iPad to the umpire, it's a pretty hefty fine. So strike zone's back, but don't you dare say it to the umpire. Is basically where we're at.
Wow. That is a tad bit sensitive there. When did you notice that it was gone, and why did it take half the year to come back? Because we asked a couple players about this last week too. They were like, I don't think you're allowed to just take it away and not let us know.
We noticed after everyone's first at bat of the year, everyone was like, what's going on? Where's the box? We need the box. It took so long to get back because we wanted it back and the umpires didn't want it back. And the league, instead of making a decision, tried to play like mediator, finally went to, I think, an arbitrator, and we got it back. So it became like a legal process instead of just the league saying this is what we're doing. So yeah, I don't know. That's about all I got.
Okay, well, no, that's enough. That's good.
I don't want my
All right.
zone to get expanded by talking too much about this. So
That's fair. That's fair. Yes. We don't want you to get in trouble. So I think you put it well. You put it eloquently. All right. Lastly, just want to go over your former team for a moment. The Jays have been struggling right now. They asked Bo Bichette if he thinks he was going to get traded at the trade deadline. He said he wouldn't be surprised. Where do you think that team is at after spending obviously a lot of time with them in the past? And in my mind, if you didn't sign Vladdy and Bo at this point, they're a year and a half away from free agency and the team struggling. This could be a teardown. I know you're not the GM, but just curious what you've been observing since you left the team and things are falling apart there.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on behind closed doors there in the front office. I know that they're disappointed. I know the whole organization, the whole city's disappointed with where they're at. They expected to be, fighting to win that division. So yeah, there's definitely some disappointment going on there, and I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means for Bo and Vladdy. It was kind of like the Bo, Vladdy, Cavan, like were the next three to help get Toronto back over the hump. I know they got rid of Cavan a little bit earlier this year, and so I don't know what that means for Bo and Vladdy, but they're great players. Whatever happens, they're gonna help whatever team they're on get better. So I don't know. I'll be interested to see. That's for sure. But still got some great friends over there. Talk to Dalton, talk to George, talk to Danny Jansen. Still a good bit. Chris Bassett. So loved my time in Toronto, really did, and just made a bunch of great friends. So I wish them the best, and hopefully they can figure something out. But yeah, it's definitely not going the way they thought it would be at this point.
Hey, Whit, before we let you go, it's going to be real quick, but I was recently at Wake Forest, and I didn't realize that your dad was two-time ACC Player of the Year. Was he disappointed in you for not going to Wake Forest and going to South Carolina?
No. But no, yeah, my dad was probably one of the best. Humble brag on my dad, but one of the best players in the ACC history. Yeah, he was a stud. Still holds the record, I believe, for a batting average. He hit like 476 his junior year, which I believe is still the ACC record for a single season. No, it definitely wasn't disappointed in me not going to Wake. Wake was not at the level they're at right now when I was in high school. That's for sure. And frankly, I needed to get away from my hometown a little bit. I needed to kind of do my own thing. I knew if I went to Wake, everything I did would get measured up or we'd be compared to my dad. So I wanted to go somewhere different. I wanted to go to a bigger school. A school maybe not as academically challenging was probably good for me. And not that South Carolina is not a great academic school, because it is a fantastic academic school. But they were in a much better position from a baseball standpoint, and that's where I wanted to go. I loved Coach Tanner. I thought he was the right fit for me. Turned out he was, and it was just a great process, and I was happy that I made the decision. It worked out great, and I still love Wake Forest. Actually, I have season tickets to the basketball games. I'm just a huge Wake Forest basketball fan, and so Wake still runs in my blood, even though I didn't go there. But yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. You had a ton of success at South Carolina too, so it all worked out. And now Wake baseball is really good, of course. Whit, great catching up with you, dude. As always, we'll see you in a few weeks. Okay.
You got it. See you, fellas.
Appreciate you. Whit Merrifield from the Philadelphia Phillies with us at FT. We'll be right back. Let's actually start there. Can you tell us what you guys think about policing in baseball these days. Is there a time where it's appropriate to, quote, I'll say it this way, send a message? And also, should that time be when you don't like how a player celebrates?
I mean, all those are all circumstantial, right? There's not one way to
Why'd
go
they do
about
that?
each situation. There's always history involved, what your team kind of camaraderie is, what your team kind of culture is. So it's just hard to like pinpoint or just say this is how things should go in each particular situation. It's just how you feel about it in the moment.
Go ahead, AJ.
Damn it. I was going to guess which one of y'all was which, and they put your names up on the screen. So I'm mad now. I'm mad at our producer and our director. Because they purposely asked which one of you was which, and I was going to play a game, but it's over now. So continue.
Tyler, do you feel the same way? Like, how should
Ty
we look
can
at
police
this way?
things throwing 82, so we can rely on him to put one in the ribs at 82.
Yeah, when you're the slowest throwing guy in the MLB, I'm not sending a lot of messages. That's for sure.
Yeah, bull crap, you hit a guy in the face this year. Oof. Oof. So you obviously can do whatever you want if you throw a slider and it hits a dude in the face.
I'm just glad no one got hurt in that, and full disclosure, that was supposed to be down and away. So in all reality, terrible pitch.
Yeah, but that'll be on your highlight reel for the rest of your life. You're gonna from the day your grandkids are gonna be like, look at Grandpa, look at this. He threw this pitch and he hit him right in the face.
It's unbelievable.
Seriously.
He's okay though.
Yeah, but he's like, watch his reaction. He goes, "What the fuck?"
It is FT Senior Insider Ken Rosenthal with us for the Inside Scoop, and a programming reminder for those that watch Fair Territory on the Foul Territory YouTube channel or wherever you get your pods. The show is going to be live on Wednesday instead of Thursday. Do the math. They're observing the holiday for July 4th on Thursday. Anyway, Ken, great to see you. And before we dive into everything, I just want to let you know that we are very supportive of your show and we listen to every single word. So last week on Thursday, when Alana asked you what you were going to talk about on your next FT appearance, you did sneak in a little, well, they're going to ask whatever they want to ask anyway. So what does it really matter? So just wanted to let you know, we hear you, we see you, and we're still potentially going to go off the grid a little bit.
Scott, am I wrong?
You are not wrong. AJ,
I don't read
is he
your
wrong?
articles. I don't read your articles. I admit it.
Right, so you're going to ask whatever you want to ask. It's all good.
Exactly. Yeah. It would be no fun if we gave you all the layup questions.
Not
I
worried
would
about
say-
that, AJ.
It's fun
No.
to see Junior squirm every once in a while.
Okay, well, let's do our best here, okay? I would say I'm probably the teacher's pet that stays the most on task, so I'll try my best and let these guys veer off. So we'll start with the All-Star picks. So I just wanted to get, I know you've laid it out. There's an article. Everyone can go read it in The Athletic, and you can even hear some of Ken's thoughts on it. The question I wanted to ask you, Ken, was what kind of feedback you got, right? I know there's always going to be call outs, complaints, and also praise for certain picks. So just from what you've seen from fans, where did they think you really got it right? And where were some call outs that they think you really got it wrong in?
God, it's mostly call-outs and complaints, honestly. And I understand that people generally look at this thing through the prism of their own team. And they're not necessarily looking at it from the perspective of someone who has to pick all 32 and have every team represented and balance it and this and that. The principal objection I got, and this I understand, and it's kind of a matter of your taste, was my suggestion and influenced some of my choices that this is a game for stars. It's a game for entertainment. It's not necessarily a game for most worthy in the first half. And where this came into play most prominently was in my selection of Manny Machado over Joey Ortiz at third base in the National League. I had all these shortstops in the National League, 4 of them, each were their only team's representatives. And I had to reduce the number at third base. And that was one. And my logic was he's Manny Machado. And I'm sorry. He is still a great player. He's had a great month of June. He was hurt early or coming off surgery, and that affected him. But Manny Machado is the kind of player you want to see in the All-Star game. I know he's a villain and all that, whatever. He's still great. Still a guy who likely will be in the Hall of Fame. Then the other one was in my selection of Corbin Burnes over Seth Lugo as my starter, and I explained this more in detail on Fair Territory yesterday. Again, it's an entertainment vehicle, this game. It's a promotional vehicle, and it's a game where you want to see the biggest stars in the most important situations. And I say that, and I was very upfront about this as someone who works for Fox and who knows how they think and who actually over the years has come to understand their logic here. Corbin Burnes as the starter, I'm sorry, is a lot sexier than Seth Lugo. Now, Seth Lugo is a great story. He's had a great year, and he totally deserves the honor, if not the start. But what I'm saying is that while all that is true, pitch him in the second or third inning and start the guy who is a former Cy Young winner, a potential free agent, subject of one of the biggest trades of the offseason, and that would kick it off. I just think that's a better way to go for the sport. A lot of fans objected to this. I get it. And the ones who said, I'm going for the big market guy, I don't know that Baltimore is a big market. So maybe save it on that.
Homer pick.
AJ, by the way, the people in Baltimore, the last thing they ever called me was a homer. It was quite the opposite.
Ken makes baseball come to life in the Baltimore Inquirer or whatever it's called. So,
well, it was the Baltimore Sun, you knucklehead. And if you bought it once in your 20-year career, you might have known that.
Well, I wouldn't have bought one. Waiting for you to give me one for free. I'm not buying one.
Yeah,
25 cents or whatever it was when we both were younger.
It was probably free in the hotels that AJ stayed at. So
that's also easily
opened the paper past the crossword section. But I'm going to go to my homer team, one of my 9 homer teams that I have. Why is this year not going to be any different with the Brewers? You laid it out in the article, and I know Reese Hoskins was talking about how, well, you got to trust, this organization has had success. They've had success to a point. And as a Brewer fan, because I can be a fan of more than one team, unlike AJ, why can't this year be different? Because they've done things this year that they haven't in other years. Other years, it's built on Corbin Burnes. It's built on Woody. It's built on Freddie Peralta, Hader. Now this year, they've built this team on a skeleton crew besides Freddie, and Devin Williams is coming back. They're banging. They're banging right now. Why can't the Brewers be different? Because in your article, you said, well, they'll probably just stay status quo and not make a big splash.
Well, you're referring to something in the Athletic we call the trade deadline watch, and I wrote it in combination with Will Salmon and Patrick Mooney. And Eric, you raised an excellent question, a great question. That wasn't the purpose of the article, but that might be the subject of a future column. Because frankly, you're absolutely right. This is different. They've got a huge lead in the division, relatively speaking. They have a special position player group. They are short in their starting rotation. And this is the way they do it. We get it, but you're absolutely right. Circumstances change. And I know Mark Attanasio, he doesn't like to jump out there and be the guy at the deadline. If anything, they've done things in reverse, the Hader trade being most notable among them. The ads they've made over the years have not been all that significant. At the same time, yes, I can make the case, and you are making the case, that it is time. And I wrote the other day about the Red Sox and them not going for it and how they should go for it. Different circumstance, I know, high revenue team. This team, the Brewers, I believe you are absolutely right. They are doing this with a reduced payroll. They are doing this with a team that lost its manager and lost its best pitcher. This team should be reinforced and applauded for what they've done, not just in a piecemeal way.
Okay, so we got it. Milwaukee should add. Boston should add. Toronto should sell. You said that in recently. What about Pittsburgh? What shouldn't they add? They're right in
Yes.
it. The fan base is clamoring. They have no payroll. They have Skeens and Jones and the rest of their team playing right there. Shouldn't they add somebody at least to give the fans a semblance of like, hey, we actually are trying and not just trying to get your money?
AJ, they totally should add. And they're a little bit different than Milwaukee because they are not operating with playoff odds of around 90%. They're a team that's kind of on the bubble, right? But it's time for them to go. And when I say that, it's time for them to begin an upward ascent and not continue this even or below even level of competition or effort that they've had over the years. Effort is the key word here for all of these teams, for Boston especially, but also for Milwaukee and for Pittsburgh. I'm sorry. I know it's expanded playoffs, and I know, well, we want to be good long term. That's what every team says. When you have a chance to win, and you guys know this better than anyone, when there is a chance to make the playoffs, and it's a lot easier to make the playoffs than when you guys played, you have to honor what has gone on the field, what your players and staff in the clubhouse have done, and you have to not necessarily go all in. No rational fan thinks that should happen, but you should make an effort. And for Pittsburgh, it's not the equivalent of free agent additions like Aroldis Chapman and Martin Perez. It's being involved in Vladimir Guerrero if he's available. It's being involved in those kinds of pursuits. Yeah, it's going to cost you. But you get a guy like Guerrero for a year plus. Might be worth it. You might get into the playoffs and it pays for itself. So, AJ, I'm with you 1,000%. Obviously, they're not, again, as competitive as Milwaukee. So it's a little bit different in that regard. But at the same time, yeah, let's go. Let's go with all these teams. Forward.
Ken, not long ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, you had your shovel out, and it was one of those little shovels you get as a kid, and you were throwing dirt on the Astros. Well, now, guess what? They're only 3 games out. Can they catch Seattle, and can they make a deep playoff run and make it to another LCS, which they've done, 7 years in a row now?
I don't believe I had the little shovel out. It might have been a little tiny, tiny spoon, but certainly
That's
they
a big
did not
shovel
look
for you,
good.
though, Ken.
Well, okay, that's a big shovel for me, however you want to put it. I don't remember exactly what I said. I don't usually rule teams out before July 1st. This is a team that has come a long way, and it's really interesting how they've done it without Tucker and with Ronel Blanco and Hunter Brown as their big-time guys in the rotation. Those are not people you expected to be leading them at the start of the season. Can they catch Seattle? They absolutely can catch Seattle. And the Mariners are going to need to reinforce their offense. They know that. They're going through a little bit of a dry spell now, as all teams do. And the Astros, of course, are coming off a 17-8 June. They're hot. But they're the Astros. They have that pedigree, and we all sort of suspected this was coming. It's just hard to imagine the way it's happened without Tucker, without several of their starters. I believe 7 are still on the IL. So from that perspective alone, it's really impressive. They'll get McCullers back. They're getting Luis Garcia back. Hopefully Verlander comes back as well. It's a pretty interesting group, and they will not hold back at the deadline. They will try because they've done that repeatedly under Jim Crane in the past.
Hey, Ken, James Wood made his debut last night for the Washington Nationals. It was a cool scene there. It's been kind of a tilt of power in that area where Baltimore was so down. Nationals win. Nationals been down. They're starting to come back up. This seems like really the piece that starts to get them back into playoff contention. I know they've kind of been there, but they're starting to slip a little bit. They fell again yesterday. The point I wanted to ask you about was the return for the Nationals here. We brought it up just for a minute or two at the top, towards the top of the show. Does a return like this for the Nationals scare teams away from making deals? Is this the kind of deal that ownership and even GMs look at and say, CJ Abrams, Mackenzie Gore, James Wood, and more, by the way, if Robert Hassel ever becomes anything, and I'm forgetting the other prospect, but he's throwing $1 billion in the minor leagues. So what do you think about a deal like this? And if it kind of holds back certain GMs, not AJ Preller, but others?
Teams are already scared, Scott. Teams hate making trades like that. And yeah, they will point to that trade as something that they're not willing to do. Now, Juan Soto, even keeping in mind it was A.J. Preller who was always aggressive and is willing to do more than most GMs, Juan Soto was a special talent. And they expected when they made that trade that he would lift them to a place where they weren't the year before, which was the World Series. They were close. So with Juan Soto, getting him for, at the time it was what, 2+ years, guys? I can't remember. It was 2+, right? That's what it was going to take. So I understood it at the time. We all knew at the time it was a monster package. Those were some of the best young players in a rich system. And it's Jarlin Susana at the end of it, and you can see what he's doing in the minor leagues. So in that case, maybe some other teams would have been willing to do it for Juan Soto. Teams were willing to do that kind of deal for Shohei Ohtani. Of course, San Diego was one of those teams. So when he had 2+ years of control remaining. So the way I see it, teams hate making those trades. They're not going to make those trades. And for Juan Soto, that was an exception.
If they had made the World Series, they would have loved it, and it would have been worth every single bit. And
Absolutely
to me,
right. And that was the idea. And that was totally the idea. And when you make it to the World Series, and if you're lucky enough to win a World Series, the whole equation changes. It doesn't matter. You have won a World Series. In San Diego's case, they've never won one. So you can understand why they were so motivated. But we all knew at the time that that was a great package. We didn't know that these players would develop the way they have, but it's not exactly a surprise that you're seeing C.J. Abrams, potential all-star, Mackenzie Gore getting to that level, James Wood, one of the top prospects in the game with, as Scott said, more to come.
Okay, this is completely off topic, but about what we were just saying. James Wood, it leaked out on Friday that he was getting called up on Monday. Is that a clear case of disingenuous, trying to compete? Because why not call him up on Friday and play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, even though it's on the road? And now the Nats, who are kind of a fringe team, because there's a lot of fringe teams in the National League, now they make it into the playoffs by a game. Oh, we're glad we had those 3 games from James Wood. Or is this something that will just get swept under the rug by Major League Baseball, and I'm making too big of a deal out of it as an ex-player?
Actually, AJ, Eric, I hadn't
thought Hey!
Relax over there.
I take that as a
Watch your
compliment.
mouth.
I take it as a
I'm
compliment.
I'm
You
sorry.
should have a beard.
Okay, I hadn't thought of that. It's a good point. And I don't know the answer to that, why they chose to do it that way. It's a question that needs to be asked, and I will ask it. That's a good question.
I'll give you my theory with some education to it. Grant Paulson tied into the org for a long time. He's the one who broke it on Friday. They didn't want it to break on Friday. They had the plans. You start to kind of get yourself all dressed up for a Monday debut. They probably wanted to tell him on maybe Saturday or Sunday. No, Kratz? Am I off there?
And do it at home. They wanted to do it at home.
Yeah,
But
it's
you know
for
what?
the
Eric's point is
money.
valid. Eric's point is valid. They're on the fringes here. They're not probably going to make the playoffs, and they're kind of going through a rougher spell now. But don't you want James Wood for as many games as possible on your team? We're past any service time issue. It's all decided. They get the extra year of ARB. They get the extra year of free agency. Not a problem. So I don't know what the problem would have been. I mean, with ARB, I meant he's not going to be a 2+ now. So it's a fair question, actually. It needs to be asked.
Yeah, do you want James Wood debuting on the road in Tampa Bay, or do you want James Wood debuting in DC and collecting that home gate, you know?
Well, guess what, though? Why wouldn't your home gate be good anyway, even with James Wood debuting on the road? He's still coming to your park for the first time.
Thank you.
I'm with Eric here. I don't like this.
Okay. Well, yes, of course, we'll hear from you if there's anything to it. Let's finish on a high note. Your longtime friend, colleague, Jayson Stark, was honored. So I'll let you take the floor here to let us know how special it was to be a part of what he received over the past 24 hours.
Yes, well, last night in Greensboro, North Carolina, it was the annual National Sports Media Association awards dinner, banquet. You see it right there. And I had the honor, and it was an absolute honor, of introducing Jayson, who I've worked with for the last several years and known forever. And Jayson, for those who don't know who he is, and I can't imagine you don't know who he is if you follow baseball, he is an extremely rare individual and rare baseball writer. There's no one else like Jayson Stark, and frankly, there never will be. He's very savvy with the numbers, and people know him from his Weird and Wild column. But there are other people who are savvy with the numbers. The difference with Jayson, and that's Andrea Kramer, by the way, also was inducted into the Hall of Fame with her son. The difference with Jayson is that he puts it into context that no one else can. He understands the game in a way that no one else does. And again, to see him get that honor, and there are some of the biggest names in our industry who have received that honor over the years. Monster names. They might not be familiar to AJ because he doesn't read, but to those of us who do this for a living, it's a really big deal. And AJ will recognize these names. Joe Buck and Tim McCarver were also inducted as broadcasters into this Hall of Fame. So Joe was there. He gave some hilarious speeches, one accepting for Tim and the other, of course, for himself. And it was just a great night. And I was just thrilled to see Jayson get, frankly, what he deserves.
I love that. That's awesome. Ken, really appreciate the kind words there about Jayson. And obviously we all feel that way. Jayson's been amazing to, work with for me, and also incredible to read all of his work for a long time. Thorough, beyond thorough, just finds things that no one else does. So Ken, thank you so much.
Thanks,
will
Tim.
talk to you. Oh, brutal. We will talk to you later this week. I was waiting for AJ to interrupt me. That's why I spoke slow, but thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Erik.
Ken Rosenthal, star of Fair Territory. There it is, Mondays and Thursdays, but scratch off Thursdays this week because it is July 4th. We all want to honor the July 4th holiday. So you can catch Ken tomorrow live with Alana Rizzo on Wednesday's edition of Fair Territory, 12:30 Eastern Time. Be right back.
I don't think anyone's tired of it. It's actually getting to play with Shohei is it's really cool. When he was on the Angels, it felt like every other night you were seeing a highlight of something that he did that no one had ever done before. And now that I'm playing with him every day, it's like every at bat he's doing something that I've never seen before. Even his outs, he's hitting the ball 120 miles an hour, even if it's getting caught. It's just absolutely insane what this guy can do on a baseball field. It's been a lot of fun. I've been enjoying every second of it. I think everyone else has. We keep getting wowed every single day, and we're only at the beginning of May, so it's going to be exciting to see what's going to happen the rest of the year with him.
Way too close to talk about MVPs, but
all right. So besides that, Kyle, if you were commissioner of baseball for a day, what would you do? What's one thing that you really want to see in the sport? One thing you really want to see changed? One thing you really want to bring out more?
Man, I'm a little bit of a traditionalist, so the rule changes. Maybe I'd be in favor of rolling some of those back. I like with the whole umpire thing. Like, I like the human error element of our game. So I'm hoping that stuff sticks around, and I'm not sold on the automated strike zone. So I would try and put a stop on that stuff.
This one right here. This is the only forgivable dunking of my career, and you can see why. It's Bill Murray in the winning clubhouse after the Cubs beat the Indians back then in the 2016 World Series. I was interviewing him on Fox, and he said, "Kenny, you're looking awfully dry," and Bill Murray dunked me with champagne, or doused me with champagne, I should say. So there you have it. One bath after another.
It's hot corner time, and it is a perfect way to introduce this next segment. It is nothing other than hot corner, since you might receive fire from your audience, your fans, Kratz, over your all-star game roster. You might even receive that from your friends on this show, like AJ. So you want to run through what you chose and wrote up on your cute little chalkboard?
Yeah, my chalkboard. I'll have to pull up my cheat sheet so I don't forget. Obviously, I have, Judgy. We're just doing American League right now, so Judgy's automatically in. But if we go first base, I got Vlad. And the reason I went Marcus Semien at second, what other Rangers am I putting in this game right now? To me, I need a Ranger in the game at home. I love consistency. I get it. There's better numbers. I think even Altuve has better numbers than him at second. So I'm going Marcus Semien because I need a Ranger in the starting lineup. Right or wrong, I'm going to do it. MVP perennial candidate, Jose Ramirez. Gunnar is over Bobby Witt. I get it. My Kansas City faithful fan is not going to continue to follow me. I'm going Gunnar there because I think he is one of the most electric, if not the most electric player and good player in the game right now. And obviously rolling out Jordan will always be my DH. Even when he's struggling and 55 years old, he'll always be my all-star DH. And then it's Judge, Soto, and I went Esteban Kwan because I need to have him in there. He's going to lead off for me too in this game.
Yeah, Kwan's a great one. I just want to jump in before AJ maybe criticizes you for anything, or maybe he loves it. But for Semien, I do think you have other Rangers options. I know there's a lot of competition at third base. Josh Smith is your call out. Also Kirby Yates on the pitching side. I feel like when you have a team that is struggling to come up with a guy that leads the pack, then you usually can look at a pitcher, and I think Kirby Yates would probably qualify as one of the relievers to be able to make the cut.
I felt like Marcus Semien was closer to Jose Altuve than Josh Smith is to Jose Ramirez. Jose Ramirez is by far the starting third baseman. And unless you can change positions, Josh Smith needs to be an all-star, 100%. I'm not saying he's their only representative. I'm saying I needed one starter in the American League from the home team because it's a spectacle. I put Marcus Semien there.
That ain't it. I love Marcus Semien, but he's got a 683 OPS. He's hitting 235.
I'm not saying he's not.
Jose Altuve needs a start. He's a star. I know Semien won the World Series last year, but Jose Altuve's got an 822 OPS, more stolen bases. Semien's got a couple more homers. Actually, Altuve has more homers, a few less RBIs. For me, Altuve's hitting over 300. It's got to be Altuve. Ramirez I'm good with, although I would like to see Devers there just because. But okay, Devers, yeah. But Vlad Guerrero, really? How about Josh Naylor? Let's talk Josh Naylor. First place team, Vlad Guerrero, last place team. Yeah, I'm going Josh Naylor. The outfield I can do. I'm okay with it. I'd rather see Jarren Duran there than Steven Kwan just because Kwan missed time. And then where's your catcher? We don't have.
Yeah, where's your catcher, dude?
We don't do a catcher in this league.
No, we didn't put a catcher on there. That's my bizzle.
I mean, so who is it?
This is hilarious.
I'm going to go Salvi. I'm going to go Salvi.
Actually, it's a good one. Salvi or Adley?
I'm going to go Adley.
Okay. I agree.
I think
you know what? At first base, you could put Salvi.
Oh, because he has played quite a bit of first base. You won't, but you could.
Or DH, you could put Salvi.
The reason I picked Vlad Guerrero, is because to me, here's a way that you can start celebrating, or not celebrating, but pushing who's going to be traded. Put him out there. Put him on the biggest stage. Let him be that, boisterous guy who's out there. Because if we're gonna get Ellie into the game, we're gonna get all those, everybody who Scott wants in the game. James Wood is gonna play in the game. Any big prospects are coming in. Let's sell the whole game. Vlad's getting hot. Let's put him in there.
Also, I mean, it's not like Vlad's been bad. I mean, he's having a pretty good year. He's
doing fine. But
he probably has better numbers than Naylor, right?
Well, he has less homers, less RBIs, but he has a higher OPS because his OBP and average is higher.
Yeah, he takes walks and all that. Okay.
I mean, you could make an argument for Mountcastle. You can make an argument for Carlos Santana, too. I mean, they're over 750 OPS guys.
Mountcastle actually was ahead of Naylor for me. I was choosing between Vlad and Mountcastle, and
Wow.
I thought there was going to be enough Orioles. So,
Wow.
AJ's going to get some love from Guardians fans for including Naylor there, but I get your point. Get some. I mean, Quan, I think, helps to satisfy that for the Guardians playing so well, but I get where you're at. All right, we'll step aside. We'll go over the NL roster a little bit later in the show. All right, here we are. We're back for a few minutes, so I have a couple things to say to everyone. This is like the behind-the-scenes crew. If you're not watching on TV, you're watching here on YouTube right now. So a couple of things. First off, Derek behind the scenes, our YouTube specialist extraordinaire, told us that over the last month, we have 56% of our audience is not subscribed to the channel. It is one click. I know most of you watching right now probably have that, especially in the chat if you're watching live, but maybe you're the crew that watches when you get home from work at like 5 o'clock. Be cool if you just press subscribe to the channel. That's all I'm asking for. It doesn't cost you any money. Sure, if you want a membership to FT and you get extra videos and the emojis and the whole deal, that's great. But otherwise, just like a little boop sub button would be awesome. Okay? Yes, you're hurting
somebody
AJ's
get AJ.
feelings. You're hurting AJ's feelings.
No, you're hurting. I'm
I
having a
know.
heart attack. That Scott's
I
saying
know,
this.
I know. But also, you're hurting AJ's feelings
Paramedics.
if you're not subscribed and you're watching. It's kind of like
They
stealing
don't
money
know.
because you already get a free show. Just press.
They don't know because you don't say it.
They don't know to subscribe because you didn't. You never said
Enough
it,
with
Scott.
enough with this slander. Okay, the other thing I wanted to bring up was referee.
Subscribe to my newsletter.
Referee who always is great with the super chats. Ref, I just wanted to let you know, we brought up Tim Anderson. We didn't have it ready for Kenny Ballgame Rosenthal, so our bad. And I caught that really late in the game, and we had to get to his honoring Jayson Stark. So if you want to bring that up to him, you can do that on Wednesday. And I'll just reiterate, it's been a wild downfall for Tim Anderson. It is crazy how quickly that turned from all-star into not a serviceable big leaguer. I know Kratz went over it just before. We'll see if anyone picks him up. I think there was one person in the chat joking. Sounds like a classic Dodgers pick him up and suddenly he's hitting in the second half of the season. We'll see. We'll see. Some people are talking about Bo Bichette in that way because you have to look at Bo's numbers this year. I know he's been a little better the last few weeks at the plate, but he hasn't been hitting. And the biggest part, I know I'm switching subjects a little bit here, but the biggest part of Bo's game is the fact that he is playing below average defense with the metrics. Yeah, below average defense, like some careless plays. He doesn't look the same this year, and also has never been an elite shortstop as it is defensively, right? And especially over the last few years, that's something that Andrew Friedman really values. I'm not sure. Maybe they think they can put him in a better position to succeed there. But I still think they're probably feeling Mookie Betts at the position and they can get the throwing issues taken care of. So that's my take. I didn't leave any room for you guys because all you want to say is subscribe. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're coming right back on FT. Hey, let's go through our locks. Let's do it quickly if we can today so we can have time for Ump Show and for the NL roster for Kratz. Winners yesterday. AJ, I was rooting for you because mine hit before yours because I got to 10 runs and Yelich got his second knock and a great AB, but we ended up all victorious yesterday. It's a nice dub. This whole crew is up. Jonathan Papelbon has a pick for us, so let's run it.
What up, y'all? It's your boy Parlay Pap coming to you. We in South Mississippi. We at the yard today with my son, man. We're getting that swamp ass ready. Boys, it's hot down here, but you know what? When it's hot, you got to stay hot. And here's your picks today from Parlay Pap. You know what it is. We got the White Sox playing today. They suck. We taking the Guardians in the money line, and we're going to put them in with the Twins and the Tigers today. Got two studs going. So I'm going no run in the first, and we're going to parlay those together for a hundo. We're going to win about $235. So you got to get that cheese with Parlay Pap today.
Let's go, Pap. Oh my gosh. I would love to just watch Pap doing drills with the kiddos. So Kratz, you want to follow that?
I am going same money line. I'm going White Sox. I'm going Red Sox. And I am going give it a second, the Braves. And I'm all going on starting pitching with the Braves. Ronaldo Lopez is going. We're going Red Sox against the Marlins. They're facing a guy in his second start, Valente Veloso, I think is how you say his name. And so I feel like these are 3 easy money lines. And I just really liked extra big plus numbers today. Plus 247, I think.
Woo! Good for you. AJ is, of course, going to top you. I just looked. You're at plus 319 today, AJ, with yours.
Well, I'm going back to the game I went to yesterday. Over 11.5 Brewers and Rockies. Why? Because Dallas Keuchel's pitching against, I'm not even sure, but Dallas Keuchel's pitching in his first start.
Against the Rockies pitcher.
Against whoever pitching for, I don't even know. But just in Coors Field, that 80, listen, I love Dallas Keuchel, but 82 doesn't play very well in Coors Field. And, he didn't do so good his first start. So I'm just taking a shot here in the dark. And then I'm also going Grayson Rodriguez over 7.5 Ks against the Mariners. Why? Grayson Rodriguez came on with me on Fox on Saturday, and the Mariners strike out more than any team in baseball. So that's going to get you plus 319. And soon I'm going to not only be catching Pat, but I'm going to be passing all y'all.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see if you're at sucker tonight. So we're all going plus. I mean, I'm basically even money. I'm at plus a hundo today with my pick going over 9 runs for the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers when they last met up. The over hit in 2 out of 3. And the over's been on a run for both sides here. I like the way both sides have been swinging the bat, even the Dodgers without some of the big boys. I think Arizona's starting to come along, and they've kind of had to with the amount of starting pitching they're missing. And I'm not a huge believer in either starter right now. Ryan Nelson, who is struggling a bit. Last start got rocked, 6 runs, 10 hits, and Bobby Miller doesn't look the same yet. So add that all up. I'm looking for 10 runs or better, please, tonight. I'm kind of on a little over-under run, so I'm enjoying it. All right, first bet offer for you on the BetMGM app or at BetMGM.com is you sign up and deposit at least $10 into your account. You have to use the promo code or the bonus code, whatever you want to call it, FOUL, F-O-U-L. Place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. If that happens, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Back with Ump Show on FT. Lance, I'm going to take us in a different direction to finish here. Just some more generic baseball questions for you. So I got 3 for you. Here's number 1. What's one random thing from your career that you have kept?
Ooh. Like most everything I have, I say random. Man, I don't keep much. It's literally team memorabilia from All-Stars or World Series. And like every year when I leave the team, it's a jersey. So I'll have all that when I'm done playing. I try not to take anything like, I guess I have an old champagne bottle, still corked with everything in it from the World Series in 2011. That's probably something you wouldn't expect, I guess.
One more question for me. Who is the coolest, most famous guy you've ever met?
The Todd Father.
Oh, come on, man. you talking about Todd Helton or Todd Frazier?
No, you were the biggest thing in the world when we were 12, 13 years old.
Oh,
so
man.
True.
Yeah.
You hear about,
like talking like, if I could call someone on my cell phone the coolest guy on my cell phone, I would go.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'd say Rex Ryan, the football coach. So he would, he would
nice.
answer it. Yeah. Great guy to golf with.
You guys look similar too, by the way.
Yeah.
But we had Kyle Gibson on. He said that you were the most famous person because he said growing up in Indiana, everyone knew who Lance Lynn was. And Lance Lynn was like a legend apparently around the Indianapolis area.
That's what he tells me, and I told him it's very easy to live in my shadow because I'm a large person. So he's done a good job and made a career for himself. So I'm very proud of him.
So is it true? Who's a bigger Little League star? You or Todd? Because we've all heard about the Little League World Series.
Come on now,
It's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious who the guys. Todd was
Thank
able to
you.
ride that all the way to make a major league career out of it too. I don't know how he did
And
it, but he
now,
was able to ride that for a long time.
and now it's coming full circle.
He got
I'm
drafted in the
broadcasting there.
second round for what he did in the Little League World Series. I've never seen anything like it.
Right.
Let's hit the Ump Show. Pat Murphy was ejected from the game in Denver. No word on if he went beer or wine right after he went inside, but was it justified? Let's show the play. Here we go. Austin Gomber on the mound. It's Joey Ortiz, who actually has been awesome for them, hustling down the line. And sorry, Joey, you're out of the baseline. That's what your tracks say, or do they, guys? Who wants to yell first?
So terrible.
Just a bad call. Listen, the running lane is 3 foot wide, and you're allowed 3 foot, and he was inside the running lane, so I don't know how you make this call. But Brian O'Nora saw it the way he saw it. There's no arguing. There's no replay. And Pat Murphy, he got to enjoy a beer or whatever he drinks earlier than he expected, and they hit my over, so way to go.
Even without that runner, because the next batter, William Contreras, hit a dinger. I mean, a 2-run dinger. But the little bet that I had on the side was that the Rockies were going to win that game. So my hit also. I'll show you the receipt.
But what about the play?
No, he did not go out of the lane. It's a clear that he was inside the lane. To me, this is such an easy call. And he didn't get thrown out. Murph didn't get thrown out by the first base umpire. The first base umpire, that's technically not his call. The lane is not his call until he tries to tag him right there. He can ask for help from the home plate umpire who has that call in case it's a throw. The home plate umpire has the call in case he's running inside and the guy hits him. First base is when he goes to make the tag. And Brian O'Nora is making this line with his arm no, he went way around. It looked like he said he went way around, and Murph comes out and goes, no, talk to me. No, talk to me so that Joey Ortiz doesn't get thrown out, because they knew there was going to be 63 runs scored in this game. I don't see how the home plate umpire doesn't help Brian O'Nora out there. He is wrong and incorrect in the same play.
And a lot of people were really angry about it. I know it's a little thing, but it just it was hard to see how somebody standing that close had such a hard time with the call. That's all.
I don't know what he saw. I don't know if he saw the pitcher diving across. You can see how far he goes out of the lane. He juked him. It was straight Neo, juked him, and he missed him.
It's hot out there. Maybe he was seeing double. All right, let's slap hands. Right to the NL All-Star ballot for Mr. Erik Kratz, and you're going to have to do your verbal call out for that really whatever position that is so minuscule that it's not even really next to a DH. It's the dude, what is it? The guy that behind the plate who receives the baseball.
I can't believe I didn't do my catching position for either league. But whatever. It's
so verbally say it. You know who it is.
By me. No, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not
William
even.
Contreras, no.
I don't get to put it in there. I failed my brethren because they don't put in a backup catcher. It's all starting catchers, and then they're supposed to go into the game and back up. Like AJ, why is AJ catching in the 9th inning of an All-Star game? He should either start or not make the team, and then let one of us backups play. So maybe that's why I Freudian slipped and didn't put him in there.
Yeah, message sent. So run through this group for us pretty quickly, please.
Super quick, Bryce Harper, no doubt MVP candidate till he got hurt. Ketel Marte, to me, is one of the most underrated, not talked about enough players. Alec Boehm is leading baseball in doubles, kind of a homer pick. I'm fine with that. Mookie Betts earned that position at shortstop. I am not saying Trey Turner won't start. I'm saying Mookie Betts earned that position. They were both hurt, so maybe there's somebody else that I missed. Profar Ellie. Ellie is not going to start. Ellie can be on
DJ Abrams. DJ Abrams.
That's a good one too.
Okay.
He's on fire.
DJ Abrams.
Yep.
That's fair.
Mookie's been hurt.
He stayed healthy
CJ
too.
Abrams.
But my biggest homer pick is obviously Shohei's up there.
Yeah,
Yelly's
Marshall. I love
there.
Marshall.
Who do you want?
Brandon Marsh.
Who do you want? You got 20 seconds.
You know who I want? I want Brandon Nimmo, but only if he wears a Grimace outfit out there.
Wow.
Just the head or the whole thing?
The whole thing. The guy that was going crazy last night. Did you see him at the Nats game when they scored all those runs in extra innings?
That third outfield spot's good. Let us know what you think on our socials on FT. We will see everyone on Wednesday on Valley Sports TV and Marquee. Whoa. Hold up. We got a few minutes left on the FT YouTube channel if you're still here. I like this. It's kind of like, hey, TV people, and then we're like, hey, you want to know a secret? All right, so let's do Kratz Hats. What do you got for us?
I mean, when you're down the shore, how can you not wear a Phillies hat? If there is ever a question of who down at Ocean City, New Jersey, what team they like, it's not the Yankees. It's not the Orioles, even though the Orioles are only about an hour away. It's definitely not the Nets. It's the Philadelphia. There's flags flying. It is a good time to be a Phillies fan.
Mm-hmm. Okay. AJ's feeling salty today. What do you want to grade that one? I feel like you've graded the Phillies hat pretty poorly in the past. What do you want to do?
I mean, it's red. It's a C.
It's a C. Yeah, I do agree. I'm not
but
a
look,
fan
there's
of red.
There's a blue dot. That's my favorite part of the hat. There's a blue dot.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. But you're pretty tall, so most people can't see it. A lot of men don't look good in red. I don't know why, but it's just a thing. They don't look good. But anyway, we have a minute left to finish our argument.
You know what the blue dot is called, by the way?
The little thing on the top of the hat? No.
Mm-hmm.
Is it something inappropriate?
No.
No? No.
Mm-mm. It's called a squatchy. Squatchy.
Really?
Come on. Real story?
Squatchy. True story. Squatchy.
Never heard that word in my life.
Nope.
Never heard it.
Squatchy.
First time. Anyone else know? Let us know in the chat.
There's no way anybody else, but that's what it's called.
I've never heard that before. I'm going to Google it right after this. Actually, I'm not because I'm doing a show. So if you're still with us, we will flip you over to Hot Sheet on Baseball America coming up in about a minute. There's the show for you. I don't know if you've heard, but the MLB draft is coming very soon. Yeah, it gets kind of buried with All-Star Week. It's just weird timing. We don't know why they do it this way besides to save some bucks. But anyway, we're going to give you a comprehensive preview of where we're at with the draft, and the futures game rosters just came out. So we'll get some expert analysis from JJ Cooper and the rest of the crew. Carlos Collazo is going to join us at the top of the show. So we'll go over all of that coming up in just a moment. And also a reminder to everyone, tomorrow's the big day, just like Thursday usually is. Okay. So that means Bear territory before FT. And that means after FT, it's Dodgers territory with Alana and Clint. Third NL outfielder on our way out. Teoscar Hernandez. You said
I told you,
Nimmo.
Brandon Nimmo. Look at the numbers. Dressed as Grimace.
Marsh has actually a better WAR with less at bats, but just saying.
He also missed forever. And I love Marsh, but he missed a long time.
Yeah, so it means he's been more valuable. And a higher OPS plus.
I love it, even though it's not movie quality. Paul Sewald joining us on Wednesday. See you then.